Bill Barnwell is the best NFL analyst on ESPN. And he's not even like technically like an analyst. Like you think of like the ex-players or the analysts, right? Here's the X's and O's. Here's what this guy's doing well. Here's this guy's technique. Here's why I think this guy's the best quarterback, right? That's not really Bill Barnwell. Barnwell is more of like a statistician, right? He's like an economist. He's like, give me the numbers and here's what I want. Here's what I know. Very smart guy. I'll read everything he writes about everything NFL. I think he's the best at ESPN. So you can imagine my frustration when I saw this headline predicting NFL teams most likely to decline in 2022. Numbers history show that Packers, Steelers, Titans, Falcons, and Raiders will lose more games than they won last season. Damn it. I hate this. Now, normally I can just kind of write it off as, you know, it was Florio or some like Raider hater. It's like, okay, whatever. But he's like, all right, I'm Bill fucking Barnwell. Look at all this data and all these numbers and all this stats that I have to verify why I think this way. And he had 4 main points, and we'll look at them each one by one. Number 1, this is me quoting his article. The Raiders did go 10-7 a year ago, but they had the point differential of a 6.9 win team. They were outscored by nearly 4 points a game. It's not exactly a like-for-like comparison because they got to play a 17th game, but they were outscored 65 points on the season. 65 points. We scored 65 less points than our opponents in the 17 games last season.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easily explained. It was 2 games. It was the Chiefs games.
Yep.
That's what we had already talked about that. That's why when I read this, I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, dude, it was the Chiefs games. The Chiefs games got away from us, and that's the 65 points.
Now, that's like a big chunk of it, right? I think the Chiefs scored like 64 of those, like a 64 of that differential. Like it's literally like it would be a 1 point. I think it was 64 points differential between the Chiefs and Raiders in the 2 games last season. So, yes, that's the reason, but it still counts. It's still, yeah, we got our dicks kicked in twice by maybe our most hated rivals.
Mm-hmm.
The second time was after we stomped on their emblem, and then they're like, all right, we're going to make this even worse. Here you go. So you're right. It's not like it was spread out, but it can't just be shrugged off. Like we were completely dismembered. We were neutered by the Chiefs twice. And so, it was 2 isolated incidents, maybe a 1 isolated incident, considering there's 1 team, but you can't just shrug it off like it happened.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to also take a look at the fact that we're not going to get severely out-schemed again. I have a lot more confidence in the coaching staff that we have right now, and that's basically what it was. The things that we were trying to do, especially defensively, Andy Reid had, I mean, it didn't have to be a specific player. It wasn't about Tyreek Hill or Kelsey, because for the most part, we kept them in check. It was the other guys that were doing specific things with matchup issues that we had. And offensively, we were pressing because we were behind early, and we were making mistakes and fumbling the ball and giving the ball away, and just torpedoed and, snowballed all the way down. And I don't see us being out schemed. It wasn't a talent issue when it came to the Chiefs. It was just being thoroughly out coached.
Point number 2, the Raiders finished the regular season 21st in DVOA, ranking 4th within their own division. There's 4 teams in our division. ESPN's Football Power Index pegged them as the 23rd best team in the league. Pro Football Reference had them 23rd in their simple rating system. They finished as the 13th best team in the AFC. Again, 16 teams in the AFC. So the nerd numbers make us look terrible last season.
You know what? That just goes to our poor record when we're favorites. That's the bad DVOA. I mean, how many times did we win when we were underdogs? We won a lot. We won like 8 of our wins were as underdogs, and we won 4 games in overtime. So that DVOA gets lower and lower because you're winning, but you're barely winning. But when we lose, when we're supposed to win, like the Giants, like the Bears, we get blown out. So that really skews that number a little bit.
To that point, Las Vegas went 7-2 in games decided by 7 points or less. We went 4-0 in overtime, becoming just the second team in the past 30 years to pull that off. The 2011 Cardinals did it. 4-0, undefeated in overtime, and 7-2 in one-touchdown games. Barnwell loves that number, and I think with good reason, right? Like it's winning a lot of close games involves a lot of luck. It is a talent, but generally a team that like skates by and gets a lot of really close wins one season doesn't replicate it the next season.
Yeah, look at our 16 and 17 seasons. We won a bunch of close games in 16, and those games went the exact opposite way the next year. The exact opposite record. What, 12-4 to 4-12?
There's a good point with this one, but I would also acknowledge that Derek Carr, and we'll get to Daniel Carlson here in a second, it's less fluky for them because they've been doing it for so long. Like Carr's been leading comebacks for 8 seasons. He's always playing from behind. He's always playing with trash defenses and usually trash run games, right? So it's like he has more reps playing from behind and being able to come back than any quarterback in football right now, really. So I would say that yes, in a broad picture, statistically, it's more random than we like it to be. But I would also say there's anybody who's bucked that trend of randomness and has done it consistently, it's Derek Carr.
Yeah, man. It does concern me leading into the season how poor of a record he has as a starting quarterback when we're a favorite to win the game. He does a really good job of rallying the troops and being the underdog. But I mean, what's wrong with being the better team? You know,
He's just not used to it.
Exactly, right? So hopefully this new attitude of like, you know, the added confidence and that little swagger he's got, that little bitiness he has, you know, hopefully that kind of helps us out when we're favorites.
Little big dick energy would be nice.
There we go. Swinging it.
And here's the last point. Daniel Carlson, our fantastic, beloved, and very rich kicker,
godsend,
kicked 9 field goals in the fourth quarter or overtime to give the Raiders a lead, with those kicks eventually leading to 5 victories. Carlson is a great kicker, but that's likely unprecedented in NFL history. ESPN has data going back through 2001. I was in high school. And no team over that time frame ever has had a kicker boot more than 6 field goals to give his team a lead in the fourth quarter or overtime. The record was 5 before 2021. Again, Carlson had 9. But again, Carlson's just that good of a kicker. Like he is that clutch. And again, the randomness is always a part of it. But Carlson's pretty goddamn good. And you can count on him to win those clutch moments. So
look, if you're going to hit 50 home runs in a season, you better not get hurt and get your at bats. Be batting up higher in the batting lineup, right? You get more at bats, more chances. You need more chances. That's really the main thing we have to look at here. I don't think Carlson even ever missed one of those. Yeah. He had the chances to do it. That's why he had so many. And that's not typical. He is that good, and when you give him a lot of chances, he's going to knock more of them down than not. I wouldn't be surprised if he went 9 for 9 in that situation.
So those are the 4 main points from Barnwell's article about why he thinks the Raiders are going to decline in 2022 after 2021. And there's some decent points in there. And it was very Barnwell. Macroeconomics. Big picture, here are the trends. And I'm glad I read it, and there's a lot of good points. But I think when you go micro, right, the point differential, the Chiefs were 2 of it. You know, the comebacks, like, well, that's kind of Carr's thing. Well, the kicker was a big part of all these wins. Like, yeah, he's that good of a kicker, right? You can kind of dive in. But the other part is, too, that like never got brought up was like what a clusterfuck last season was. We've been over it a million times. Gruden getting canned, Ruggs going to jail, all the other, Waller missing so much of the season. Like, all those things are – our 2 starting guards were hurt before the season basically began, right?
Yeah.
None of that was factored into this, and we overcame it all. There's no way. You want to talk trends and things deviating to the mean, right? Like if a lot of lucky things go our way one season, they're going to deviate back to the mean the other season. All the terrible shit that happened to the Raiders last season, it's going to deviate back to the mean this season. Like we're just not going to have. There's 0% chance we're going to have the bad luck we had last season. and we still went to the playoffs.
Look, all of the turmoil, all of the uncertainty, all of the dysfunction from the top down looks to be getting settled. So at least football wise, right? Even operations wise, we got a new president, right? So it looks like we're due for the other end of the pendulum swing. Let's have the next 30 years be like a freaking well-run oiled machine, right? Because we had this dysfunction for so long in this, and we wanted to spite ourselves a lot of times. But now let's have that nice, well-run, competent, organized, planned organization.
It's going to feel so weird if that's what happens.
You know what, dude? Hey,
we're due.
It's like it's like the slugger that learns how to box, man. It's a slugger that learns how to box. It's still there when you need it, but you don't have to rely on it. So we still have that dysfunction there when we need to pull from it, that wildness, but we don't have to rely on it to be that all the time.
Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.